In the previous video on solving proportions, we looked at things that said something like 5 over p equals 4/3. And we cross-multiplied to solve because cross-multiplication is the same as clearing both of the denominators out of the fractions. In this video, we're going to look at proportions that have two terms in a denominator or a numerator, one being a variable and one being a constant. So in this case, we have 10 over p plus 2 equals 4/3. So that's going to change a little bit of what we do during cross multiplication. So let's go through this example and see what that looks like. To cross multiply, I'm going to start with 10 times 3, which is 30. And in the other direction, we're going to do 4 times this entire denominator, p plus 2. So we're going to multiply 4 by the entire denominator, which means we need to write it in parentheses as 4 times p plus 2. Writing 4 times p plus 2 without parentheses means 4 times p, but not 4 times 2. Writing it with parentheses means now we're going to distribute. 4 times p is 4p, and 4 times 2 is 8. On the right, we still have 30. Subtract 8 from both sides. On the left, it'll cancel, and we'll have that 4p equals 22. Move up here. 4p equals 22. I'm going to divide both sides by 4. On the left, that will cancel. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we're left with 1p equals 22 fourths. So we can write that as 11 halves, or as a mixed number, well, 2 goes into 11 5 times evenly with a 1/2 left over. So p is 11 halves or 5.5. Our next example has the same thing. There's a variable with a constant term added or subtracted to it, in this case subtracted. So we're going to do cross multiplication again, and remember that when we do it in this direction, 2 times a minus 3, that we want to write 2 times a minus 3, the entire quantity. And then the other direction, 10 times 4 is 40. So I could do one of two things here. I could distribute and then solve for a, or I could actually just divide by 2 right now. Dividing both sides by 2, it'll cancel on the left, and I'll be left with the quantity a minus 3. And on the right, 40 divided by 2 is 20. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. And then on the left, the 3's cancel. A equals a positive 23. So that means that 2 over 10, 2 tenths, equals 4 over 23 minus 3. So 2 tenths equals 4 over 20. So 1/5 equals 1/5. That's definitely true. 2 tenths is 1/5, and 4/20 is also 1/5. So this is definitely true. A equals 23 is my correct final answer. We're going to do one more problem like this. We're going to cross multiply. 9 times 6 is 54. We'll multiply in the other direction. We're going to write 8 times the quantity k plus 6. So 54 equals, well, we could again distribute, right? 8k plus 48. Subtract 48 from both sides. Let's see, 54 minus 48, we're going to get 6 equals 8k. So 6 equals 8k. Divide by 8 on both sides. On the right, that cancels. So k equals, let's see, 6/8 is really 3/4, so k equals 3/4. So I want to talk a bit about why in this case I decided to distribute the 8, and in the previous problem I actually decided to divide by that number instead of doing the distribution. So let's review those previous two problems and why I made different decisions with the arithmetic. In the second problem we did today, the equation that we got from cross multiplication was 2 times the quantity a minus 3 equals 40. And in the problem we just did, we had 54 equals 8 times the quantity k plus 6. On the right here, taking a look at the number 2 and the number 40, I noticed that 40 is divisible by 2. Okay, it would come out to 20. So dividing by 2 on both sides here will simplify to a whole number on the right. Our problem on the left here, the one we were just working with, 54 divided by 8 is not a whole number, or not an integer. Okay, 54/8, in fact, is, let's see, dividing both by 2 is 27/4. Okay, now we know 27 is 3 times 3 times 3, and 4 is 2 squared, so they don't have any common factors. Okay, I knew that 54 wasn't evenly divisible by 8, so I didn't want to divide by 8 on both sides there. So let me ask you a question. Our initial problem that we worked on today said 4 times the quantity p plus 2 equals 30. Would you distribute the 4, or would you choose to divide by 4 on both sides? The question you need to ask yourself to answer that is, well, is 30 divisible by 4? Is it going to come out to a whole number? And in fact, it won't. We know that 28 is divisible by 4, and 32 is divisible by 4, so 30 is not divisible by 4, so it's not going to equal a whole number, so I would choose to distribute the 4 in this particular case. There's going to be one more video on solving proportions where we'll take a look at questions that have a variable in 2 separate locations.